The night changed everything in less than a heartbeat, the kind of night that looks ordinary until it reaches back years later and tightens around your chest. Rain slicked the city streets, neon lights trembling in every puddle, when Daniel Carter pulled his aging sedan to the curb and made a choice that felt small, almost invisible, but would quietly dismantle his life. He was a single father running on exhaustion and instinct, and all he saw was a man about to collapse in the rain. He did not see the future unraveling behind that moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the strange ways fate tests good people, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Daniel's life had already been narrowed down to the essentials. Wake before dawn, make breakfast, pack a lunch, braid his daughter's hair with clumsy patience, and drive her to school before heading to a warehouse job that paid just enough to keep the lights on. His wife, Emily, had died 3 years earlier after a sudden illness, leaving behind silence where laughter once lived. Love, for Daniel, had become something careful and quiet, focused entirely on his 8-year-old daughter Lily. Every decision he made bent toward her safety, her future, her smile. That night, he had worked late, his body aching, his thoughts heavy with bills and tomorrow's worries, when he saw a man stumbling near the entrance of a luxury hotel, soaked, lost, and alone despite the city pulsing around him. The man was Richard Hale, though Daniel would not learn that name until later. At that moment, Richard was just another human being slipping toward the ground, his expensive coat dragging through rainwater, his eyes empty with the kind of loneliness money cannot cushion. Daniel hesitated. He was tired. Lily was waiting at home with a neighbor. Time mattered, but something about leaving a man like that in the cold felt like a betrayal of the values he was trying to pass on to his daughter. He helped Richard into the car, listening to the man's shallow breathing, guiding him with care that came naturally to someone used to tending wounds invisible to the eye. The drive was quiet, the city sliding by like a blurred confession. Daniel followed the address on Richard's phone, delivering him to a high-rise apartment that rose like a fortress above the street. He helped him inside, set him on a couch that probably cost more than Daniel's annual rent, and left without leaving his name, without expecting thanks. He did not imagine that kindness could echo back with consequences sharp enough to cut through everything he loved. Morning arrived with the sound of Lily laughing in the kitchen, a sound that anchored Daniel to the world. He made pancakes, flipped too early, laughed at himself, and felt, briefly, like life might still be gentle if he handled it with care. That illusion shattered by noon when his supervisor called him into the office, eyes downcast, voice rehearsed. The warehouse had been acquired overnight by Hale Industries. Restructuring was immediate. Daniel's position was eliminated. No warning, no mercy, just a handshake and a packet of severance that would not last long. By evening, news spread across every screen in the city. Richard Hale, visionary CEO, had recommitted himself to a bold new direction after a publicized struggle with addiction. Investors praised his strength. The market soared. Daniel sat on his couch, Lily asleep against his shoulder, watching a man he had lifted from the rain become a symbol of rebirth, while his own life quietly slid toward collapse. He did not connect the dots at first. He was too busy calculating rent, school fees, groceries, and the shrinking margin for error that defined his days. Weeks passed. Job applications disappeared into silence. Savings thinned. Lily grew quieter, sensing instability even when Daniel forced smiles. Then came the letter. Hale Industries was offering compensation to employees affected by restructuring, but only to those willing to sign a non-disclosure agreement regarding internal decisions. Daniel read it twice, then 3 times, understanding slowly that his termination had been fast-tracked to clear the path for a deal that saved millions. He had been collateral, a name erased to polish a balance sheet. Signing meant money, stability, and security for Lily. It also meant surrendering any chance to challenge the injustice that had gutted his life. At the same time, Daniel's heart, long sealed off, began to crack open in ways he did not expect. Clara Bennett entered his life through Lily's school, a gentle presence with tired eyes and a laugh that felt earned. She volunteered in the library, helped Lily with reading, and spoke to Daniel like he was more than a problem to be solved. Slowly, carefully, Daniel let himself hope. Love returned not as fireworks but as warmth, steady and patient. Clara saw his struggle, admired his resilience, and imagined a future that did not revolve around survival alone. The choice arrived without ceremony. Hale Industries contacted Daniel directly. The compensation offer had increased, enough to erase debt, secure Lily's education, and even allow him to start over somewhere new. The condition remained the same. Silence. No lawsuit. No story. No truth. Daniel understood then that the man he had saved had never known his name, never known the cost of his recovery to strangers like Daniel. Kindness, it seemed, did not guarantee justice. Signing the agreement felt like swallowing something sharp. The money arrived quickly. Life stabilized on the surface. Lily smiled more. The fridge stayed full, but something inside Daniel dimmed. Clara noticed the change before he did. The man who once believed quietly in doing the right thing now avoided his own reflection. The unspoken weight of complicity pressed into every moment. Love, which had just begun to bloom, withered under the strain of what Daniel could not share, could not undo. The breaking point came on an ordinary afternoon. Lily asked why her father looked sad even when things were better. Daniel had no answer that would not teach her the wrong lesson. Clara, sensing the fracture, pulled away gently, unwilling to build a future on silence and compromise. She loved Daniel, but love, she believed, should not cost someone their soul. In choosing security, Daniel had unknowingly stolen the fragile rebirth of his own heart. Years later, Richard Hale stood on a stage, celebrated for philanthropy and transformation, while Daniel watched from the back of a crowd, Lily now a teenager beside him. Daniel worked 2 jobs, modest but honest, having eventually used the compensation to rebuild without excess. He never spoke of that night, never told Lily about the man in the rain or the signature that changed everything. What he did teach her was simpler and harder. Kindness matters, even when it hurts. Choices have shadows, and sometimes doing what seems right in the moment demands a price that echoes longer than applause. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about the quiet sacrifices people make every day, please take a moment now to like, comment, and share this video. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who may need them. Before the ending, please comment one word that this story made you feel, and let us know if you believe Daniel made the right choice. Daniel's life never returned to what it might have been, but it became something honest. He learned that love cannot survive where truth is buried, and that survival without integrity slowly erodes joy. On rainy nights, when the city lights blurred into memories, he still thought of that single choice, the man he helped, and the life that slipped through his fingers. Yet when Lily held his hand, steady and warm, Daniel understood that while one decision stole his love and altered his life, it did not take away his humanity. And sometimes, that is the quiet victory no one applauds, but one that still matters.